So the fun fact is like I don't even have an account on CodeChef or Codeforce. It's never about having a good ranking on CodeChef or Codeforces. So I think one important thing I'd like to say is it's not about just writing code. It's about problem solving. That's what interviewers look for.
Hey guys, welcome back to SPodcast, the number one podcast on higher education, cracking competitive exams, and getting jobs at fortune companies all over the world. In today's episode, we have with us my friend, my roommate, my mentor, and my guide who helped me to crack my very first internship at Siemens Industries Limited. So it's really a pleasure to have him. And you might already be knowing this face because recently his LinkedIn post went viral and it crossed 6 million views. And we have with us an Amazonian with us here. So let's hear it from the man himself, Affan Sheikh.
Hey, hi Sarvesh. Hi everyone. Nice to connect across on this podcast. And yeah, it feels great to be here and talk about a bit about how my journey till now.
Yeah. Thank you very much for joining us.
Yeah.
Affan, would you mind sharing your profile with us, like your GPA, your undergrad college, your internship experiences, or any other projects which you worked on?
So I'm a recent 2020 graduate, and I've done three internships in my undergrad. Two are in a fintech-based company, FinIQ and Credit Suisse, and the third one was with a healthcare startup. For my CGPA, like you asked, I guess it's 9.53 out of 10, and a couple of projects which I focused on was towards the domain of AI and distributed computing. For in my past experience, I've worked at Credit Suisse for 10 months, where I worked on NLP and AI related products. And then I moved on to Amazon, and today I'm a proud Amazonian, I can say, working as an SDU1 there.
That's great. That's great. So you seem to have a really all-rounded, perfect profile for masters, which is the commonly pursued path after engineering, which is MS in CS or data science or machine learning. So why didn't you go for masters after your engineering, and why did you go for placements?
So as far as I remember, I did apply for masters. So I remember getting an admission from University of Milan, which is
Mhm.
in Italy, Europe. And due to the pandemic, I couldn't go there. Then later, the offer came of, without GRE masters were people can get
Yep.
admission to good universities in US. So
Right.
that was for the fall 2021. So I tried to go for that, but due to some financial constraints, I couldn't get a loan. So I decided to, make my own way. When destiny doesn't gives you a way, you have to make your own one.
That's
So
great.
that's where I decided to become a software engineer at a very good product-based company. And then moving forward, things fall in line for me. Amazon reached out to me, and that's where I became an Amazonian, and I'm very happy about it.
That's great. Like it's great to see that you're paving your own path. And so, do you have any plans of pursuing masters maybe in the future, or nothing planned as of now?
So So I think Amazon was my dream company, and since it's the Earth's most customer-centric company, I can proudly say
Definitely.
that. So, so I think there's nothing which is now about growing in Amazon as an Amazonian. So right now I don't have any plans of a master, and I'm very firm on that. So it's about growing as an Amazonian. Yeah,
That makes sense.
yeah.
So all of us at VIT know that you are the king of off-campus placements because you bagged an internship at Credit Suisse through a off-campus placement drive through a hackathon. Then you bagged Amazon again through a off-campus placement drive. So what is the secret behind cracking these off-campus interviews, and what are the things which aspirants should keep in mind?
So yes, I think that's a very relevant question to the point, and so let's talk about a couple of things I could suggest people, which I personally followed, and they helped me a lot while I was trying to get this off-campus thing. So the first thing was about your LinkedIn. It plays an important role as to one thing you can do is you can just go on to LinkedIn, tag hashtag hiring, and there will be a couple of pages coming up. So you
Mhm.
can follow those pages. These pages are simply gonna notify you about these opportunities. Then the next thing which I think is alumni network, which is very important. because alumni network is something you can connect across on LinkedIn, and that's where they will also respond you back. So see how they cracked opportunities, ask them out if there are some openings at their company, or will there be in future. That really helps you a lot. The third thing is, I guess, a simple search on YouTube or Google. If you just go and type off campus opportunities, right? So I think a couple of many opportunities will be presented. So you can see someone who's cracked, you are in third year, they have cracked it in their final year, so you can note that down, like
Hmm.
this is the opportunity which will come next year for me. That's what I
Right.
did. I did it for a couple of them. And I think the fourth thing I would want to say about this is university recruiters. University recruiters tend to, post the recent openings on their profile. So first thing is try to connect with them. Usually they don't accept random connections. You can just follow them. It's very
Hmm.
good to follow all these kind of people, and the bigger the network, the bigger the reach you have, the more number of people you are connected to, and the more number of opportunities you'll come across. So I would
True.
definitely recommend, don't hesitate to connect across with people. It's not always that you have to be a mentor or a guide or a coach or something like that. It's always okay to just learn from people whatever they have to share. So these are a couple of ways I think off-campus opportunities can be, we can know about them, and definitely also from the experiences we learn how to crack them. It's tough, I do agree. It was tough for me as well, but it's about work so much hard that it becomes easier for you. That's what people do, I guess. Yeah,
Yeah, that makes sense. And like as you said, having a structured routine is very important. If you track all your applications, then you know when to apply. Then you can prepare accordingly. And
right,
as for the alumni part which you mentioned, even if you don't have an alumni from your college working in that company, then I think that try to find a thing which is common. Like you could be following the same football team or cricket team, or you could have attended the same conference. So try to find something common to talk about so that the other person gets interested in it. And another point which you mentioned was researching about the company that you're applying for is also very important. Like doing your
correct,
homework is very important.
right.
Yeah. So thanks a lot for those tips. And I think he has made a LinkedIn post on that as well. So I'll link it in the description.
Yeah, so I guess in my LinkedIn post, I've clearly mentioned those 6 points which I just spoke about. And so in those 6 points, you can actually get some keywords also, which, like, for example, hashtag hiring, which I just mentioned here. So there are a couple of more, so please check that out.
So you said that you had participated in a hackathon for the Credit Suisse internship, and as you said that these hackathons can be gateways to cracking internships or jobs at your dream companies. So can you share your hackathon experiences and how can like beginners uh, gain skills so that they can compete in this competitions?
So I think when it comes to hackathons, there are two stages. One is participating in them, and the second one is winning them, right?
Hmm.
So initial stages, it's more about participating and getting to understand what the technology is. So for me also, like I'll share some experience about the Credit Suisse hackathon, which I took part in. So it was, I guess, there were 2 days given, and it was an AI hackathon, and that's where so the hackathon started at around 12, and I was pretty much determined to win this one. That I
12
wanted
at
to
night.
get to yeah, 12 at night,
Okay.
right? So it was 12 at night, and I remember my first submission on the portal was at 5 a.m. in the morning. So it needs dedication. It's not that I wake up at 5 a.m. every day, but at that particular point, it was being awake and getting your work done till 5 a.m.
Right.
After that, I worked hard for 2 days, and finally, I guess around there was 3,500 people in that hackathon, and then they shortlisted around 30 people, and around
Hmm.
100 or 200 of them were having very competing score.
Hmm.
So the thing here which I want to tell about hackathons is initially you will participate and try to get the best out of it. The second thing which I want to say is, like, whenever you start winning hackathons, so there are
Hmm.
stages to it. Like in when you are in your second year and third year, you go into hackathons. So you play, you go into many hackathons. Then you have 10 different projects ready.
Right.
Now it's not about just going into a hackathon. Now it becomes about winning them, and it's not only going and creating a new product. Sometimes what I did was I used to take whatever projects I have to different
Hmm.
hackathons,
Okay.
and so it's about not finding the hackathon which you can pitch in a new idea. It's about finding a hackathon for which you already have an idea.
Mm-hmm.
and that comes when you are in your final year because your placements are going on and everything is going on. So that's how I that's what was my journey about hackathons. And one thing I learned about hackathons is, see, one thing I understood is like having innovative ideas is very good, but delivering innovation is what makes the difference.
True.
And this happens in an hackathon. So if you have an innovative idea that's going to work very well, and if you can implement it, you will win it. But if just pitching in an innovative idea, that doesn't work always.
That makes
So yeah,
sense.
yeah, that's my experience, right, with hackathons.
And how did you gain those skills? Like, can you share like any resources which you particularly used to improve on your skills, or any books that you read?
So for I guess for hackathons, I was very much keen to learn from YouTube, I guess, because see, right now it's 2021. It's not about which resource you follow; it's about whether you follow or not follow. Today, it's
That's
not
true.
about from where you are learning AI. It's about whether you are learning AI or not. But right now, I'll focus more on the computer science fundamental parts as well. Like it's not about from which resource you are you preparing for your companies. It's not about from which resource are you doing operating systems. It's about whether you are doing operating systems or not. So I think I cannot pinpoint any single resource as to I referred this, but for interview preparations, I have written a complete guide as to what are the different topics involved and what are the resources I referred.
Mhm.
So I'll ask Savesh to put that in the link,
Sure.
in the description, and you guys can refer that. But always be open to learn from different resources from different perspective, and it's always about learning it or not learning it. It's never about which YouTuber or which resource
Resource.
you learn it from.
Right.
Yeah, it's about doing it or not doing it. Yeah,
Mhm. Yeah, that's definitely true. Like, just get your hands dirty and just start
right,
working on it instead of like
correct.
waiting for the perfect resource.
Exactly. And when it comes to DSL goals and interview preparations, try to understand this. This is not rocket science which came into existence in 2021. It's been there. It was 10 years back ago, 15 years back ago. These algorithms have been defined. So now
Mhm.
it's about learning those and understanding them. So telling like, that particular algorithm will need a particular YouTube video to learn, that's not true. It's about, you can learn it from n number of resources, and it's always about getting your work done, I guess. Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah, that makes
So,
sense. So, as you mentioned, that along with the skills and the knowledge which you should definitely have, another thing for cracking off-campus jobs is having a strong network. So, how can you leverage like professional platforms like LinkedIn to build your own network? And how can you politely ask for reference? Because that is a difficult task for beginners.
okay, so I think there are 2 points to it. One is whenever you're networking on LinkedIn, you'll definitely go for two things. One is either asking advices or suggestions, or you might go for asking referrals, right? So
Mhm.
let's talk about advices and suggestions and how to reach out to people. So the first thing which I would recommend when you want to go to someone for advices and suggestions is to first go through his entire profile, see what he has posted, see about the topics he has wrote about. And the important thing is to go to the right person. So if you want to talk
Mhm.
about placements, you need to go to someone who's done an off campus placement. You cannot go to someone who has done it on campus at a particular XYZ university. So that's one thing. The second thing is you go to his post, you try to understand what is his point of view. If you get your answer, you don't need to even ask for advice or a suggestion, because it's about getting the answer. It's not just about getting advices or having a mentor. So
Mhm.
that's one thing. Then what you do is you try to check out his latest post as to what he has to say. And
Mhm.
on that, you can share your thoughts in the comment section. This way, that person at least know that this particular person commented on my profile and he has this thoughts. Once that is done, he might either like your comment, reply, or something like that. Then it is a good point to go into his DMs and ask him like, hey, this is my particular doubt. Can you please help me with this thing? And when you are actually asking that question, tell him that I read your post, I find it very inspiring, or I find it very relevant. Since you have
Mhm.
written this is an additional point which I want to ask. This is where asking advices and suggestions come into picture. Now there are even for let's talk about referrals. So when you ask to referrals, the first thing is don't ask developers to find jobs for you.
Mhm.
They are not the person who know who which job is going to open at what time. They just have basic idea about, they can refer you. So don't ask developers. University recruiters are the right person to ask when is the job opening going to come up on
Okay.
the career portal. The second thing is don't need to you don't need to just tell them to refer for a particular position. You have to send the job ID which you have want a referral for.
Mm-hmm.
Send your resume. There is also one thing which you have to send, that is you have to basically tell them why you are fit for this particular role.
Mm-hmm.
And then with all these three things, then the person will be interested to refer you. Now if you send someone hi, like I got when I posted
Yeah.
about my Amazon, I got more than 200 messages saying hi.
Yeah.
I simply didn't reply in the first stage. Then later I realized people don't understand these stuff, and people are in their first year, second year, and I was at that stage as well. So that's where I redirected them to the networking post which I have
Mm-hmm.
written on my LinkedIn profile. So you can find these things over there also.
And like,
One
what can you
important thing,
reply to a hi? Like, it's difficult for the other person. He doesn't
yeah.
know what should he reply.
So
You're not friends, so uh,
right, right,
directly ask politely what kind of help
correct.
you want from that person.
So what I did was I created a generic message, and using some scripts,
Yeah.
I just send out that message to people saying, "Hi, thank you for your message. If you have any doubts or something, you can refer my latest post. And if it's about networking, this is the post you should refer." So
Right.
I did that, and that way I didn't need to open every profile and stuff like that. So the next thing which I really want to recommend everyone is make sure that the person which you are asking for advice and referral is the right person, and
Mm-hmm.
there's a way to understand whether you'll get a response or not. So there are some people which are very restrictive in their network. You'll
Mm-hmm.
find them with only 139 connections or something like that. Then there are people which have thousands of
Thousands of
followers.
connections. Yeah.
So the both extremes, it's not relevant to contact them, because even in both cases they have
Difficult to
hundred
get a reply. Yeah.
yeah, one is an introvert who's not ready to open up on LinkedIn. The other guy is having hundreds of messages in his inbox.
True.
So try to reach out to
Find a
people
sweet
who are
spot.
yeah, yeah, try to find out people who are actually a little active on LinkedIn as well, and simultaneously have a good number of connections as well, and they are willing to write something on LinkedIn. Now if you reach out to managers who are very busy, they don't even open their LinkedIn in 3 or 4 days. So
Right.
uh, in that particular time slot, 50 more messages might come to them.
Mm-hmm.
So choosing the right person is very much important. So
Right.
I would recommend one thing is new grads ko target karna. Just target new grads.
Okay.
These are people who are new to LinkedIn. I mean, new in the sense that they have started their career there. Like I was very much ready to help people out who reached out to me on LinkedIn in things I
Mm-hmm.
know. So reach out to new grads. They help a lot.
Okay.
So
Sure.
these are a couple of things you can do for referrals and advices on LinkedIn.
I see. And based on what you said, I realized that it's important to ask the right questions to the right person, because,
Right.
and
Right.
also you have to be very specific. Don't ask the questions for which you can easily Google the answers to. So keep
Right.
these things in mind.
Right. One more thing to add would be like you were saying Google thing as well. You have to be very humble enough to know that the other person is quite busy.
Right.
You have to respect his time and wait for it. One thing you can do is, okay, you messaged him a very good proper message. It was very perfect, and he didn't get back to you in 3 days or 4 days. Then you can just simply write a small polite message saying, "Hey, this is just a follow up as to if you get time, can you please answer my query, or can you please check my profile? Can you please refer me in a very
Mm-hmm.
polite way?" When I did that, I remember recruiters and big engineers when I was not in Amazon. So at that particular time, people actually reply to the follow up question, because what
Mm-hmm.
happens is uh, they have many messages. When you give a follow up,
It
your
moves
message
down.
again goes to the top. Yeah.
Right.
So being humble and waiting and valuing the other person's time is something which is very important.
Yeah, right. That was a really very comprehensive answer, and I hope that beginners, especially in their first or second year of engineering, will learn a lot from this answer. So thanks a lot for sharing your tips. So in the previous answer, you mentioned that having a good resume is very important because you need to submit it to recruiters or university recruiters or your referees. When I was applying for Siemens, like I think 2 years back, at that time I had just picked up a random template from the internet and I had just entered my details. But after I showed it to you, said that like this is bullshit. You asked me to change the pattern, and it really helped me to crack the internship.
Right,
You
right.
are also very proficient in making resumes. So can you just tell our viewers about how can they make their resumes? How can they refine their resumes?
Okay, so I think the first thing which comes here is using the right template. So whenever I look at resumes, so either they are very catchy or they are very decent or very much plain. So one thing you can do is there's a website called overleaf.com.
Mm-hmm.
I'll ask Savesh to put that link in the description. If you go onto that website, you'll find a couple of good resumes, and you can start editing the ones which you like. Now, there is a very debatable question which says one page or two page, right? That's,
Mm-hmm.
I guess, Sarvesh,
Yes,
you also had we had that discussion saying ki
true.
one page karna hai, two page karna hai.
Right.
So it's a debatable topic. I can find five people supporting it. At the same time, I can say five people opposing that one page nahi chahiye, two page rakhna hai. So
Mm-hmm.
varies from person to person. See for yourself what you like. Now, what content whenever you're putting your content, so there's a job ID, it has some basic qualifications. You
Mm-hmm.
have to ensure whatever basic qualifications are there, those come onto your resume. So let's take for example, they are saying we want a 2022 graduate. So you should somewhere mention that your btech is your
Completing
graduation
in
is
front.
2022.
Mm-hmm.
Correct. So that's one thing. And the next thing, which is about the that comes in the education section. And then when you write about your internship experiences or when you write about your projects, I'll tell you how to make sure that whatever you've written is validated and is right.
Right.
Write on your project whatever you think is right about your project. Then take it to someone who is a stranger for you,
Mm-hmm.
who has never seen your project before, and ask him to read it once and see if that person can make sense out of it.
Right.
If that person can correctly explain using those two lines your projects, then I think you have written the right lines. If he cannot, you need to change it.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess when Sarvesh came to me with his resume, I was not able to understand exactly what's mentioned in this project. So
Right.
that's where we changed a few lines, right?
Yes. Yes.
So I think you remember that, right?
Yeah,
How
definitely.
we
Like
changed those
you
lines.
told me, like the why is important. Then, like why you did that project. Then how you did it, and what were the results or basically the
Right.
results and the outcomes which you achieved. So these things are important.
Right. Yeah, and one more thing, whenever you write projects or achievements or your experience, so let's take an example. There are two kinds of people. The first one writes, I built a front-end website using JavaScript. Let's keep it very simple.
Mm-hmm.
And he just writes that line that I built this front-end website. Now let's see what the other guy does and how it impacts.
Mm-hmm.
So the other guy would write, I created a website which has 10 different components or 10 different features, and the other guy says currently I have 500 plus users active on that particular website. This is
Mm-hmm.
the link to my website. So it's about giving numericals, quantifying and measuring your impact.
Right.
Anyone can write that they built a website, but what is different in your website? That is the number of users which are coming, that is whether you have deployed it or not, that is the number of features you've built in that website. So use that technique, which I call as
Mm-hmm.
XYZ. So you have to basically tell that you stood. So for example, for me, I will say I stood in top six people, which is X is six
Mm-hmm.
out of 3,500 people, which where Y is 3,500, and the Z thing is in a hackathon which was held all over India. So
Mm-hmm.
at what
The
scale
scale.
it was held?
Yeah.
Where? Yeah, right. So that is the XYZ thing. So use numbers to quantify and measure your impact. Don't just write that you created an API. Write
Right.
how many clients are using it. And this way you can make sure your resume stands out. One more additional tip I'll tell you is the about section is there, then there's a preferred section.
Mm-hmm.
There's about section, basic qualification, and the preferred section. So
Yes.
from basic qualification, like I said, everything should be in your resume from
Mm-hmm.
basic qualifications, and try to put as much keywords as possible from the about and the preferred section.
Mm-hmm.
Never lie on your resume, but try to make sure that your resume matches with the job description,
Mm-hmm.
and this will definitely make sure that the recruiter likes your profile.
Right. So I think
Yeah.
after listening to your answer, all the viewers are like eagerly waiting to know whether your resume is one page or two page.
So let's be frank. Till my final year, my resume was two page. When I joined credits, I added some work there, and then I realized, let's switch to one page. So I'll tell you, when I gave interviews with Google, there was my two-page resume. When I gave interview with Amazon, that was my one-page resume. So like I said, it's a debatable topic. Up to you.
I see.
Whatever you feel is right for you.
Oh, okay. I see. So there's a lot of hype about these coding platforms like CodeChef, CodeForces, and there are a lot of questions over there. People compete with each other. How many questions have you solved? So, what's your ranking on these platforms, and how many questions have you solved?
So the fun fact is like I don't even have an account on CodeChef or Codeforces. I do have one on LeetCode, and that is around I've covered around 280 problems or something. But the major preparation which I do is on Google Docs. The reason is
Mhm,
interviewers don't provide you with an ID like wherein there is autocomplete features, there's a run button, there's nothing like that. You don't even know what the test cases are. So you have to build yourself there, right? So I've practiced around 120 130 pages of Google Docs I've filled with my
oh,
practice pseudocodes. So,
mhm,
and then what I do is I pick them up, put it onto lead code, and run and check whether the answer is correct or not.
that's great.
So yeah,
That's great.
there's a different angle to this one from my end.
So, since you've cracked one of the FAANG companies, so what are would you like to bust some myths regarding getting jobs at these FAANG companies?
So I think one important thing I'd like to say is it's not about just writing code. It's about problem solving.
Mhm,
That's what interviewers look for. It's not about just reading your code. It's about explaining your thought process.
mhm,
It's never about having a good ranking on CodeChef or Code Forces. It's about understanding your DSL goals. So I think these are the myths. And the one more thing I think is people think it's only the best guys who are going to FANG. But
mhm,
when I went into Amazon, we have people who are from tier three, who are from tier one, who are from tier two. All kinds of people come together and they work as a team. So it's not about that you are in tier three, you're never gonna get a chance. It's just the right opportunity has to come at the right time. And so wait for it, prepare for it, but don't just think like if you write the code, your interview will pass. It
mhm,
doesn't happen that way. It's about communicating with the interview and making sure you're problem solving with him, not just writing code.
mhm, mhm. That makes sense. So we've discussed a lot of things in this podcast so far, and it was a really a great discussion. I personally myself learned a lot of points. And so for our viewers, any final words of wisdom or any key things which they should keep in mind?
So I think one important thing which I see a lot in people is they are running behind finding just mentors, and they want to go from one mentor to other and keep on changing and trying. They watch a lot about how to do it rather than actually doing it. So if you're
Mhm,
spending 10 minutes on seeing how to do it, it's expected you spend at least 10 hours doing it,
mhm,
because planning should be done once, execution should be done 99.9% times.
right.
People have changed it completely. They're constantly trying to see which is the best resource, which is the best which is the best mentor to get on LinkedIn and something like that. But even if after they get that, they are not putting in the right amount of efforts. So
Mhm,
my last advice to people would be it's about you getting it done rather than just listening to what has to be done. So instead of just listening to XYZ resource has to be followed and XYZ topics has to be covered, listen that once, solve it. Like the rest of the part is about you solving it. So that's my final advice. Yeah.
So you've heard it from the horse's mouth. And so it was a really great and insightful discussion, as I already said. I hope the viewers learned a lot from this podcast, and they can reach out to you on LinkedIn. I'll link his LinkedIn profile in the description below. And thank you very much for watching. Hit that subscribe button if you want to see amazing podcasts like these with people who've cracked jobs at other top companies as well. And thank you, Affan, once again for sharing your valuable time with us. On behalf of the entire podcast family, I wish you all the very best for your endeavors at Amazon and your future endeavors as well.
Thank you, Savesh, and wish you the same. All the best.
Thank you very much for watching, and hit that like button. Let's show it as a way of appreciation for Affan's efforts. And if you have any other video suggestions, then comment down below. If you have any other questions which you would like Affan to address, then comment down below. Thank you and all the best.